Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it?
Legendary comedian Jerry Seinfeld is about to rail on the wrong thing.
This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. Mm-hmm. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates, like in skiing. Yeah. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
A lot to take in here. First, the contrasting styles.
You know, back in 2007, when I first started working at TYT, the roles were reversed. It was the Republican Party that was constantly criticizing comedians and trying to shut them down. Now, I mean, I do think that there are still efforts or people who complain on the right about some forms of comedy, but overall, the people you hear from the most are those on the left who are offended by comedy.
Yeah, and that's one of the places I was going, Anna.
Yeah.
Exactly right. When I started, it was the right wing that hated the comics. Now it's the left wing that is constantly criticizing the comics. But what I was gonna say is I think Ricky Gervais pulls it off pretty great. Okay, and I know a lot of people will disagree and etc. But he makes those jokes, but he makes it clear that it's a goddamn joke. Okay, get over yourself, and know that that doesn't mean that I hate you.
Leading us off, our main flagship show here at TYT.
The idea that there's less number of funny shows, and yes, on network television, I would say the comedy was better back in the day, and the reason is because there were no other options. The competition wasn't as stiff. The industry was still very young. The number of people who had televisions was less. Much of them were highly educated, so you could have highly educated people who were coming from diverse backgrounds go in and write. Now it's just a pipeline from Harvard onto these sitcoms. But the idea that he's comparing, understand, the sitcoms he's talking about were on in the 70s, which was, incidentally, a very woke time coming out of the 60s. In the early 70s, it was a very woke time. I'm speaking as an old man. This is what this old man doesn't understand. When he starts mentioning these shows, he's talking about television programs that were on 50 years ago. 50 years ago.
And second, Sam Cedar and The Majority Report, seeing it quite differently.
In the early 90s, mid 90s, I did sitcoms. I saw what happened with those things. They would give it to the network and we would have to change stuff. They'd give it to the studio. We'd have to change stuff. What he's talking about is complete fiction. Yeah. The idea that these committees have been set up for PC purposes. Now, he may think that the people who look at these things, the executives and the audience, has become more PC, which means their tastes have changed.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, this is just the redo of him complaining about his gay king joke that wasn't funny to people anymore.
So, I got a few takeaways from this. The first is, Seinfeld's show was never about pushing the boundaries or trying to be dirty with their jokes at all. So, my gut telling me that he is internalizing, well, I could never do Seinfeld today, is just simply wrong and is an old trope that many within his age demographic cling to when having these day-to-day conversations on the ruinizations of comedy, when it just simply does not exist. And to counter that, Larry David's run was the stuff of legends. It is one of my favorite shows. You cannot have a racier show than Curb Your Enthusiasm and people still not wanting it to go away. Which, by the way, Jerry Seinfeld was a part of in the finale. Sam hit on an important point as well, which is, dude is talking about MASH, All in the Family, and these shows were on nearly a half century ago, which leads me to believe the following. Guys like Seinfeld continue to cling to the golden era of television, which, by the way, is never coming back because of the evolution of our media. But he is pointing the finger at the wrong people. Jerry Seinfeld is pointing the finger at writers. He's pointing the finger at producers. He's pointing the finger at comedians for being too PC, instead of saying, hey, you want that golden era? Let's look at who is crushing what could be a golden era. It's the Suits. Instead of going after a writer for saying you're trying to be too PC, go after the billionaires that are ruining these shows and running these companies and taking your favorite shows off of streaming or just ending them completely. I truly believe we are looking at this, as in he, from the wrong lens. There are many reasons for our decay in media and a lot of comedic shows. This isn't one of them. I vehemently disagree with that. And he's laying the blame at the feet of people being too woke, which is wrong because, as Sam just told you, a lot of the shows that he's mentioning were very woke. Another tell is this. Those celebrating what Jerry Seinfeld is saying. Charlie Kirk minion Benny Johnson wrote about the video. Comedy legend Jerry Seinfeld finally goes full blast on left's destruction of comedy. This moment is powerful. Serial conspiracy theorist Dinesh D'Souza wrote, Jerry Seinfeld on how the left destroyed comedy. One problem with the humorless activists in the camps and in the media is that they can't stand to hear anyone else laugh, least of all at them. Irony is dead. Elon Musk, whose Tesla factories have been sued for racial discrimination and segregation-like conditions, tweeted, make comedy legal again. Fox News' Sean Hannity spread the clip on his social media. Even Breitbart weighed in. He's right. They would write on their Twitter handle there, yet leave it to another one of my favorite shows. Co-creator, co-star of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Rob McElhenney. He would see Seinfeld's words. And to be more specific, when he told The New Yorker, Kramer decides to start a business of having homeless people pull rickshaws because, as he says, they're outside anyway. Do you think I could get that episode on the air today? McElhenney trolled Seinfeld with a picture of, you guessed it if you know this show quite well, Rickety Cricket. Probably, he captioned with the accompanying photo. Genius. Genius. It feels like we carry the weight and words of legends. However, and the clip went viral, so the New Yorker obviously is basking in their own reflected glory. But there needs to be room for nuance and fact-checking, and it sounds like what Seinfeld is saying is just out of touch because it is not based in reality. Now, Rolling Stone, and I want to credit the writer here, Miles Klee, also like Cedar, wrote of the committees that Seinfeld referenced. Right after giving the viral interview answer, Seinfeld admitted that he has never had his jokes killed in committees, as he's describing, and that Larry David, who just concluded his 24-year run of Curb, was never artistically constrained in that way either. Lastly, NPR's Eric Deggans would add, Jerry Seinfeld is not making a series for network TV today. I have interviewed Quinta Brunson, Queen, from Abbott Elementary. She is not experiencing that. I think Jerry is regurgitating excuses from people who had projects die for who knows what reason. Network TV isn't spending money on scripted shows. The TV audience isn't interested in old school sitcoms. there's lots of other possible reasons for why there aren't as many sitcoms on network TV, and no evidence that wokeness has killed anything. If you can, please do support us here at TYT Sports. Become a channel member. Go to youtube.com/TYT Sports and click the join button, and or go to TYT.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate all the love.